Alright, a lot of people wanted me to give some extra thoughts on the number one choice in each of my SpongeBob atrocity lists. And I think, yeah, because there's really some details that you can't go to in the context of a list. I mean, my top 10 worst Patrick's a Prick list was 42 minutes long, and I was petrified of how long the top 25 episodes would be. So, this episode was my number one choice on that list, and I said that it was because of one little line of dialogue. We'll talk about that, but I can't really give all my thoughts focusing on the episode while we're worrying about that line of dialogue. Let's put that aside because this episode is terrible in other aspects too. I mean, it's telling when one of the minor problems is an opening skit that doesn't do much but waste time. That bank scene is totally pointless. A large problem with this episode is that I've seen this shtick before. In a lot of classic cartoons, there's this type of episode with a babysitter and the baby gets out of the house and nearly gets killed in construction sites. You've probably seen at least a few of them. Those work because a baby not only doesn't have that much intelligence, but they also lack common sense and can easily wander into danger. This episode is outright saying that Patrick is stupid as a baby. Granted, Squid Baby made that more blatant, but that's not the point. When you're making a stupid character, you should probably establish some ground rules to what they do or do not know. Dan from Dan Vs. does this beautifully. Having an asshole or a stupid character on your show is essentially playing with fire, as we've learned here. And Dan has both of those traits, and they deal with it masterfully. But back on topic. This episode is telling me a few things. First of all, it's saying that Patrick is stupid enough to walk off a girder into fire. He's also stupid enough to not know how to count. He's stupid enough to walk into Goo Lagoon for no reason. Wait, that's not stupidity. Stupid people don't do things for no reason. They do stupid things for stupid reasons. And that's probably one of the bigger problems with this episode. Patrick is doing stupid things for no reason whatsoever. That's essentially the main rule of making any stupid character. They have to do stupid things for stupid reasons. Also, there's one more reason that this plot doesn't work. Patrick is just as big of a fan of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy as SpongeBob. I'm pretty sure that he would think the card is valuable too. And that brings us to my main problem with the episode. Now, I'll say, without that line of dialogue, this episode would still be on the list because it's aggravating to watch Patrick insufferable stupidity. It's also not pleasant watching SpongeBob try to disprove Darwinism. Here's the exact line.
SpongeBob, you can't always expect my usual brand of stupidity. I like to mix it up. Keep you on your toes.
Now, the bottom line is that it's a painfully unfunny joke and a stupid line any way you slice it. The real question is, how serious can you take it? And that goes into how serious you think the writers were. I mean, there are other lines like this. I mean, in Slide Whistle Stooges, someone tells Squidward to go assault his own baby. I'm not even kidding. Most people infer this line to mean that Patrick knows that he's being stupid. But with him saying that he likes to mix it up to keep SpongeBob on his toes, I have no choice but to think that he's doing all these stupid things on purpose. Hell, him being aware of his stupidity is even confirmed in a later episode when Squidward asks him, "Just how stupid are you?" and he says, "It varies." So, how seriously can you take this line? Well, you can take it very seriously, like Patrick is purposefully tormenting SpongeBob as part of some sick joke or something. The real question is, how seriously should we take it? Here's the thing. This line is used to handwave Patrick walking into Goo Lagoon and falling off a metal girder towards some fire. He definitely did those things on purpose because
I like to mix it up. Keep you on your toes.
That's the only justification we get throughout the whole thing, and thus it becomes the default justification for the whole episode. Why does he go constantly throughout destroying the card for the rest of the episode? I mean, him opening the lock is kind of understandable, but using the card as a spatula, a plate, and a napkin? I mean, by the time he gets to making the burgers, the convenience excuse is completely out. There is no reason for him to do this except for the reason that they've given us. And I want to talk about that. Patrick wanting to use the card to open his lock is kind of understandable, but he wants to borrow it for the rest of the day, for what I can only assume is to keep SpongeBob on his toes. Patrick is stupid is not an excuse for this, at all. Keep in mind that he's doing all these things after he promised the card to SpongeBob, and said that he was the best friend ever, and it was confirmed that this was his most valuable possession, at least in the eyes of SpongeBob. Also, I don't know why, but the cheese for the burgers really grosses me out for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. Then there's the ending. All of a sudden, congrats, Patrick has all 5 super rare cards. Can I mention how this trading card is a bigger scam than the lottery? I don't know how valid of a complaint it is, but this episode doesn't really get anything about trading cards right, but suspension of disbelief and all that. But talking about the ending, it is believable Patrick's stupidity, but considering everything else, it really does feel like a part of a sick joke on Patrick's part, and some way to alleviate guilt. It feels like that he thought that he could horribly mutilate the card and drive SpongeBob crazy, but it would be okay in the end because he had extra copies. And if that's the kind of stuff you do with your friends for fun, then you're not a very good friend. These are the kind of people who shout fire in the movie theaters just to see what would happen. Now, without Patrick's little line, I would see this as Patrick being a prime candidate for natural selection, as soon as SpongeBob goes to sleep or something. With the line, I can only really see Patrick playing stupid for his sick amusement. When a character knows that they're stupid, and they keep acting stupid, they become an asshole instantly. Now, I said that it can stain your image of Patrick. Let me elaborate on that. I don't mean whenever I watch Patrick, I think that he's doing stupid shit on purpose, even if it aired after this episode. What I meant is that it's kind of the other way around. This Patrick, in this episode, had done all those terrible things in every other Patrick's a Prick episode for selfish hedonism. I guess the lesson to be learned here is that even the smallest parts of your story can have disastrous results, so be sure to proofread that shit.